Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So in this video, having a quick look at some data we've been coming up with. So we've been running our big blockchain game list for a while now, certainly over 6 months. And clearly in terms of the data, I wouldn't say it is comprehensive, but it's probably comprehensive enough, if we can put it that way. So basically, the big blockchain game list is basically a big list of blockchain games and vaguely or basically split between ones which are live and ones which are in development. Obviously, there's a lot of data in there if you look at it, and some of that data isn't filled in, maybe because we don't know it or we didn't know it at the time. But anyway, I think it's a pretty good overview of what's going on there, and we're sort of working on various ways of updating it. But we never really sort of mashed down that data, which is clearly sort of the most interesting bit. As we say, context is everything. So the data itself is there. And what's interesting is what that data sort of shows us, and obviously how that data changes over time. So we're going to look at a few different things over the next few weeks, hopefully. But one of the sort of obvious ones we're looking at is the breakdown of projects by blockchain. So this is you have to be a little bit careful with these sort of things. Obviously, if a game's live, that's sort of fine. But most of these games aren't live. So about 700 games in total in there. Less than 100 are live. There's a whole bunch of I guess discussion points about how you count stuff as live. If you look at DappRadar, I think they have over 2,000 blockchain games listed on there. But obviously that's historic. So DappRadar started in 2018, so most of those games don't have any activity on them. And when I had a sort of quick look, really they only have sort of 50 games that actually have sort of live data in terms of actual sort of decent user numbers. And I guess if you it depends what you assume is decent. You could have a cutoff point of 100 daily active unique wallets, or even 1,000 daily active unique wallets, really. But anyway, so I think we'll see how this goes over time, really. So it's a long-winding sort of caveat, but this is what we've got. So the other thing to look at is, so we have 12% of the games. It's not clear what blockchain they're on. That's because maybe they haven't said it yet, or maybe they haven't decided. Then there are 11% are chains that are not other chains, so chains that are not listed here. So there are how many thousands or at least sort of dozens of sort of semi-credible blockchains. So as you'll notice, we've not got Cardano on here, we've not got Algorand, we've not got any of the stuff running on BSV. There's sort of stuff even running on top of Bitcoin. There's obviously people using their own blockchain, so there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. Nia, we haven't got in there. So a whole bunch of those guys. Hashgraph, Hedana Hashgraph. So 11% of these are on other chains, and there is a sort of percentage as well that are multi-chains. That's sort of can be a little bit difficult because obviously some things, a lot of projects have assets on Ethereum and Polygon. We sort of take the view that if you have assets on Ethereum but the game sort of is working on Polygon, then we're going to count that as Polygon rather than Ethereum. So we try to sort of limit this multi-chain thing, but if some games are on multiple blockchains, then they go there on multiple blockchains, and it gets quite difficult to sort of unpick exactly what's going on there. So maybe something for the future to unpick these sort of multi-chain ones, but at the moment we've just stuck them in multi-chain. But for the rest of them, the sort of ones that have gone through, and basically this blockchain is either using this game is either using this blockchain sort of exclusively or majority. So I'd say, for an example, something would be like Alien Worlds. So Alien Worlds runs on the Wax blockchain, but also has its missions running on BNB. We put that in Wax because that's where most of the activity is, and that's sort of the BNB stuff is sort of is an interesting extra sort of feature, but it's not sort of a core feature at the moment, at least. So we've tried to make sensible decisions, but obviously these numbers will change over time. But I think it's a good starting point, and I guess none of it is sort of super surprising. So in terms of the sort of biggest blockchains, we have BNB and Polygon. I don't think that would be a surprise to anyone, really. BNB has been very successful since it launched the Binance, what you should call the Binance Smart Chain. So a whole bunch of stuff going on there. I guess that's more what we would call, or what they would call, GameFi sort of projects. So maybe not sort of pure games per se, but more about sort of gamified financial projects, sort of games plus DeFi and that sort of thing. So a lot of that on BNB. There are some games on there as well. I guess in terms of more sort of pure gameplay stuff, that's definitely Polygon. So those two are 16-15%. We could say that's sort of roughly the same. We wouldn't sort of argue about a couple of percentage. So Polygon, I guess, is where more of the what I would say sort of traditional and certainly sort of Western developers are sort of using. Obviously, as we'll come to, it is EVM compatible. So we have those two main ones, and we have Ethereum itself. So still a whole bunch of sort of stuff that is Ethereum mainnet, should say. And then sort of the first sort of other big chunk of something that isn't EVM compatible would be Solana. So Solana's 10%. Actually, there's been a bit of leakage from Solana to Polygon and other chains. Then we have Wax at 5%, and then Flow pretty small, 2%. So these are in blue because these are what we would call non-EVM compatible. So EVM means Ethereum virtual machine, and basically if your chain is EVM compatible, you can run the smart contracts. So it's sort of like you can view EVM and non-EVM as two sort of fundamental types of blockchain. Although Solana, there are solutions now where you're running an EVM compatible layer on top of Solana, so it's all a bit of can be a bit confusing, but that's the rough breakdown. So stuff that's not on EVM is this sort of small percentage here, so it's 17% of all games. And then we have, after Ethereum, we have these sort of small ones, and these are sort of the next wave of contenders. So I guess we have Ronin, which is obviously the Sky Mavis. So that's Axie Infinity and a whole bunch of Axie Infinity sort of compatible games that are going to be launching. We have Immutable, which is a Ethereum layer 2 using Starkware. So the 3% Gala, which is, again, I mean, it's sort of a bit difficult to say. Currently it's sort of a scaling solution for Ethereum, but they're going to run their own blockchain as well at some point. And then we have Avalanche, which is obviously, again, EVM compatible. So these ones are quite small. They're being sort of quite aggressive. And I guess probably at the moment, people, the main decision people go is, are you on Solana or are you on EVM? And then it sort of goes Solana, Polygon, and then maybe Immutable X is being sort of quite aggressive in trying to sort of attract new games. Gala sort of less so, a bit more sort of focused, I think, on what it's trying to do. Skis is a bit more centralized. Avalanche being picked up by a few interesting projects. So that's the breakdown. I guess, as I say, none of this I don't think is super surprising. What's interesting is what sort of changes over time, I guess. So which of these sort of smaller changes at the moment, maybe even Flow, which one of these go from like 3 or 4% to 5, 6, 7%, and how sort of these bigger ones, BNB and Polygon, how that changes over time. I did have another graph, so have a quick look. So again, this is breaking down non-EVM and EVM. So I've mentioned that before. This is actually a bigger slice than going back to the other one, so 27% compared to 17%. This is obviously because we're taking out the unknowns and other chains. Most of those are not EVM compatible, and sort of have a pass to see. Some of this multi-chain stuff is EVM, all EVM compatible. Some of it's sort of EVM and non-EVM, which is confusing. But that's basically, again, what we come in. So the vast majority of blockchain games are Ethereum centric. We could put it that way. Although we'll see how this changes over time, because we have things like the Suri blockchain and the Apos blockchain that are non-EVM compatible. So potentially you do have this idea where you have, as much as I understand it, they use the Move language. So you could have those blockchains plus Solana sort of being a stronger non-EVM sort of ecosystem, but that will be probably a bit of a way off. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on what's going on with these. So we'll be sort of updating them every month or so and reporting back. So keep it here, subscribe to the channel. See you again soon.